And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast right here on SI. I am your host, Grant Stray, bringing you all the latest news in regards to North Carolina athletics. Of course, to my right is Jeremiah Artacho, Shoshi beat writer here. We finally got him. He's finally got some time outside of class. School is very important, so I'm glad to get him on once again. Supposed to have him for the post-game show, but the thing was the game ended so late. We were there in the press box till 3 o'clock in the morning after what was a embarrassing game. It was maybe kind of funny. The reason why I kind of say it's kind of funny is just because the amount of hype that went into the game and everyone was really excited and everyone just left like, what did I just witness? Like, it was just like, I remember going to the elevator, Jeremiah. I think you were there too. I think we talked about this where, like, Freddie Kitchens, Mike Lombardi, and it was a couple other coaches. I forgot who we were.
Oh,
You just look in the elevator and they just like saw a ghost. That was just. That perfectly encapsulated the whole night just for North Carolina football. But we have a lot of stuff to break down and everything like that. Just kind of the main discussions for UNC. Of course, we're going to still have a lot of content we still got to produce. I still have a lot of content that hasn't even been published yet. I think the same thing goes to Jeremiah. And Hubert Davis just had a press conference, right? Like, by the way, we're getting closer and closer to basketball season. Hubert Davis just had a press conference, and we're still talking about football. Right, and that just kind of that just perfectly encapsulates, Labor Day night for everybody here in Chapel Hill. But Jeremiah, like, what was your biggest takeaway just from this game? Because I've already discussed my takeaways multitudes of time already this week, but just I want to hear your perspective because I haven't heard yours yet, or I don't think anybody has really.
Yeah, so my biggest takeaway is that this team has so much to work on still. All those missed tackles for one. I know you and I were talking about it up in the press box. The amount of missed tackles that
19
they
to be exact, yeah.
Yeah. 19 missed tackles. You just can't have that. If you watch the game for those, the 75-yard touchdown, the 28-yard touchdown, just these long runs that just end up in the end zone. Untouched. TCU was untouched for a lot of the game, it felt like. And Josh Hoover was doing his thing. The wide receivers were doing their thing. Coach Sonny Dykes, he did his thing, to say the least. He did his thing.
Yeah, exactly what we kind of expected him to. I expected them to put on some yards, but I expected them to kind of struggle a little bit while putting on those yards. Like I thought UNC's defense was going to slow them down, but it just never happened. And is it because of play calling? Was it because of just the lack of talent you have in the field, which was kind of concerning? But you mentioned the missed tackles, 19. It really felt like it was more.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I also wanted to touch on too was you mentioned the 2 touchdown runs. The 75-yard run by Barnes, the first play of the third quarter, and then of course I believe the other one was a Trent Battles run, which by the way was his only carry of the game. But TCU actually had a hard time trying to run the ball in the middle. They actually, I was a hard time, but of course, those runs at the middle are usually like 3 or 4 yards per carry. But if you start looking when they went to at least past the left tackle or like the offensive tackle, for example, the left tackle, 5 attempts for 30 yards, 6 yards per carry, 3 first downs, 1 10-plus yard run, and a long of 16 yards. The left end, 8 attempts for 82 yards, which is 6.5 yards per carry. A touchdown, which is the Trent Battle touchdown I just referred to. 3 first downs, 2 runs of 10-plus yards, and a long of 28 yards. I'm referring to the touchdown. Off the right tackle, 2 attempts for 29 yards, which is 14 and a half yards per carry. A first down, and a long of 26 yards. And, of course, the right end, 4 attempts for 97 yards, 24.3 yards per carry, 2 first downs, 2 runs of 10-plus yards, and, of course, the 75-yard touchdown run by Barnes, which I just mentioned. It's not even just the defensive interior of the defensive line because there's a lot of issues with the defensive line. They had zero pressure. They didn't get a single sack. There zero pressure whatsoever. And they really didn't blitz that much, too, if you really look back at it. And not a single tackle for loss was committed by the defensive line. Not a single one. The only times there was a tackle for loss, it was committed by Kamari House and Andrew Simpson, right? The defensive line got zero pressure. They had little to no penetration. And then the secondary, they couldn't stop the run on the outside. They couldn't have outside contain, and they couldn't stop the pass. I mean, Marcus Allen is getting picked on a lot as of late. Even by me, I even wrote about it, right? And look, and of course, not all of it is his fault, but he had a bad game. And this is a guy who's a veteran on the team. He's played over 1,800 snaps. So it's just if there's any position group that I was the most shocked by in terms of how bad they played, it was the defensive backfield. All right. And Thaddeus Dixon had a good game, and we kind of expected that. But if you notice that they stopped throwing at Thaddeus Dixon side, it's like, you know what? Let's keep picking on 29. And that's the worst feeling in the world for any cornerback, where the team that you're playing against just keeps throwing it to your side. Not, by the way, 9 catches. So he was Marcus Allen's side of the field was targeted 9 times. All 9 of them were caught balls for over 130 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, with a guy that experienced, that's almost unacceptable,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's played so much football here at UNC. I mean, the least he could have done, obviously he could have played better. But it didn't really seem like it was a challenge for Josh Hoover to throw on that side of the ball where he was. So there wasn't really much resistance for them to pick and choose. So that's why they were targeting Marcus Allen's side, and they reaped the benefits.
Yeah, definitely. I know we're picking the defense, but the offense gets a lot. Just needs to get some criticism too. There was zero identity with the offense, right? The only time we saw identity with the offense was when the first drive, and then of course when Mac Johnson got in.
Yeah,
it just seemed like, and we talked about this yesterday. I know you're going to write an article about the quarterback battle, what's kind of going on. Of course, Gio Lopez will be playing in the game on Saturday. At least that's what the coaches said. But then again, we didn't even know who was on the field. Price Yates didn't even play at all. And he's a projected starter. He didn't even play at all. We didn't even know what happened with him. It's just one of those things. We just don't know with the team because they don't really tell us anything. But the quarterback. So the thing about the quarterbacks is that you mentioned Gio Lopez struggled, right? And Max Johnson played better. And I'll make the case. Yes, Gio Lopez did struggle. I'm not going to deny that. But you could also make the case that the offense that they ran on the first drive fit more with Gio Lopez's style than whatever else they were trying to run, right? Because it seemed like, and this somebody tweeted this out. I've got to pull up the tweet, but somebody tweeted out that Freddie Kitchens was running the offense like Nick Chubb was back there with Joe Bitonio in the Cleveland Browns offense line, which was really good in the late 2010s. And it was so accurate because you have this guy who's a quarterback in Gio Lopez, who, by the way, his team is called Magic Johnson because of his playmaking abilities, and you didn't allow him to make plays. You were basically calling an offense that fit better with Max Johnson, which is why Max Johnson played better, and he played well. But my thing is that was when you have players with certain skill sets, you have to give them the ability to be successful based around those skill sets. A perfect example, and we also mentioned this too, and I think we all saw the Florida State Alabama game. Look at what Gus Malzahn did with Thomas Castellanos. Thomas Castellanos has a lot of issues, has some issues with the throwing game. But what they do is they utilize his running ability, and they use it effectively. Now, North Carolina couldn't run the ball with the crap. If you actually look at the PFF numbers, it's a consistent theme that the run blocking wasn't very good. But you still could have tried to do something. Gio Lopez only had 4 rushing attempts, and one of those was a sack, right? So he really technically only had 3. And then on top of that, and not even just Thomas Castellanos, but look at what Georgia Tech does with Haynes King. Haynes King is has some issues throwing the ball as well down the field. He has a turnover issue, but what he's a big boy. I don't know his exact size, but he's a big boy, and he runs hard, and he is a great runner of the football. We saw that against Colorado. He was injured, but it didn't matter. It's right. we want you to run the ball. Okay. And he trucked his ball on his way for the game-winning touchdown, which was like 50, 60 yards, right? Like, it just seemed like Freddie Kitchens doesn't know how to do that. The only offense he seems to run is the offense that fits Mac Johnson better. And I think that's what everyone's saying. Like, if you're going to run the offense, then Mac Johnson needs to be the quarterback, not Gio Lopez. And it's not because Gio Lopez is a bad quarterback. He's just not the right fit.
Yeah. Fit is really important. I mean, for UNC's sake, they have to realize that. They just have to, especially Freddie Kitchens. If they're going to call certain plays and it's not the right quarterback on the field, then why call it? I mean, that just makes the most sense from a football standpoint. So, whatever they do on Saturday in Charlotte on the road in their small stadium, it's going to be interesting. Maybe they go with Gio Lopez. If they go with Gio Lopez, then whatever offense they run has to cater to his needs, and then vice versa if it's Max Johnson. But regardless, UNC just has to get their game plan going and their adjustments. I mean, they didn't really make adjustments. It just felt like the same thing was happening to them over and over against TCU, and then TCU destroyed them for it.
Yeah, you kind of notice that TCU was kind of doing something different, right there. I mean, they were doing something a little bit different each and every time. It looked similar, but they were still doing something different. TCU for North Carolina, it was like they had more number changes than adjustments. They had more offensive linemen on the field. Like, they were running unbalanced sets.
Mm-hmm.
They're running like unbalanced sets. And like, it's like, oh, let's throw an extra lineman out there. You're just basically giving a right that you're running the football and you're going to run it to the side. I mean, it was incredible to see. And we talked about this, Jeremiah, and I texted this in the group chat with all the writers. Like, I do not trust Freddie Kitchens. I just didn't trust Freddie Kitchens whatsoever. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, right? I understood why you hired Freddie Kitchens. He's been around the program for the last 3 years, right? And he also was a offensive play caller and somebody that Bill Belichick is probably comfortable with having calling plays because he wants to fit the mantra of the 33rd NFL team, which, by the way, we'll get to that in a second because I got something interesting for you, Jeremiah. But, it's like, and like, I just felt like there was going to be what was the identity of the team going to be? Were they going to be a pro-style offense? Were they going to run something similar to maybe what like Gus Malzahn's running at Florida State or what Georgia Tech is doing? Because Georgia Tech has a very physical run game. All right. So I thought maybe that's what they were going to do. Right. But instead, you're running this pro-style offense with Gio. But I'm like, if you're going to do that, then why just put Max Johnson out there? Max Johnson was in that same offense at Texas A&M, and he ran some elements of that at LSU. The offense you're trying to run that fits more with what Max Johnson is, not what Gio Lopez is. And if that's the case, you might as well put Max Johnson out there, keep him out there. But you can't do that because you paid $2 million for Gio Lopez, right? It doesn't make any sense. And it all comes back to this. Is Bill Belichick a developer of quarterbacks? Can quarterbacks succeed when he is the head man of the program or the franchise? Look at the Browns. Look at his first year New England. By the way, his first year in New England, they went 5-11. Then Tom Brady comes along because Drew Bledsoe got hurt. We all know what happened after that. But then when Tom Brady left for Tampa Bay, what happened to the Patriots? They had a losing record under Bill. And they drafted a first-round quarterback in Mac Jones. And I wouldn't say they ruined his career because I'm not sure if he was any good in the first place. But, I mean, it just seemed like they didn't know what they're doing. They went from Mac Jones to Bailey Zappe to whoever else was the quarterback. They didn't know what they were doing. And then you also put Matt Patricia, by the way, who's a defensive guy. We just saw that against with Ohio State against Texas. We saw what he could do as a defensive mind. He's a great defensive mind. Not a very good head coach, but an awesome defensive mind, And you put him as your offensive coordinator, even though he's never called offensive plays in his life. Like, it just seems like Bill Belichick, and I don't want to say this because it's way too early to tell, but is it possible that quarterbacks can't succeed when he's the head coach, and then B, Was Tom Brady the reason why Bill Belichick's even at North Carolina right now? The reason why he's even won Super Bowls? And I know it sounds unfair to say, but at this point, I mean, just based off of last night, it doesn't look good. There's still 11 games left. But I mean, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, what is the plan? And I think that's what the theme of the season is going to be for the rest of the year. What is the plan? What is the plan? Because we don't know. Nobody knows because we haven't seen them practice. And when we did see them on the field, they look terrible. And then you start looking at the stat lines and everything. You're like, okay, who is this guy? We didn't even know he was going to play. You know? You go ahead.
Great explanation, Grant. But yeah, I mean, all the podcasts before leading up to the very first game between UNC and TCU, we were wondering, what is the identity of this team? What are they going to do? Are they going to be a passing team, a running team? Like, how are they going to attack opposing defenses? And still, after one game, we didn't even see a bit of what their identity is. And it just doesn't really make any sense. As you were saying, it doesn't make like there isn't any plan set. I mean, it's just all over the place. Like, I mean, the defense, the offense, the play calling.
Yeah, TSD, tough, smart, dependable. Like, that's another identity thing. And I think this whole thing has been about the identity. You know, tough, smart, and dependable. And the defense was nothing like that. I mean, I know that's one game they could improve, right? But it just didn't. Couldn't tackle. They made silly mistakes, right? The offense had 3 turnovers. 2 of them were turned into touchdowns. And then on top of that, actually, all 3 of them were turned into touchdowns because I think after the last fumble UNC had, I think that also led to another touchdown. I think that's what happened. If I remember, is that what happened? Too? I think that's exactly what happened. So really, technically led to 3 touchdowns. 2 of them, but 2 of them, one was a pick six, and one was a scoop and score. And so you were making dumb mistakes, and then dependable. Like, I mean, besides Thaddeus Dixon, Jordan Shipp, and Max Johnson, I mean, there's a lot of players in the field like, should we take this guy off? I mean, think about all the rotations they had in the offensive line. Like, they had 2 different centers, multiple guards, multiple tackles. Like, there's not a set offensive line. I mean, it's just no identity with the team. And then also going along with identity, and one of the things we heard about was the 33rd NFL teams. Jeremiah, what'd you see on the depth chart?
Nothing much.
Like, what do you mean by nothing much? Like, are we talking about nothing or nothing much?
Nothing.
So there's 2 different things.
Nothing.
It was blank.
It was nothing.
The depth charts are blank, and you look over the NFL scouts that were in attendance, you're like, what the hell is this? They were like laughing. And not only that, there was a report, I'm not even joking, that Bill Belichick apparently, and I saw this, that he banned the Patriots scouts from attending the game. Yeah, I mean, he banned Patriot scouts from attending UNC's practices. I mean, it's just incredible. Because I saw this on the podcast. It was John Middlecoff of 3 and Out Podcast. He's part of the Volume Network that is Colin Coward. Of course, those are just reports. This is what he said. Those are rumors. I can't confirm them. But, I mean, if you want to brand yourself as a 33rd NFL team, right? Because you're branding yourself as a 33rd NFL team because you want to prepare these kids to go to the NFL, right? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Like, this whole thing, I haven't been disrespectful. I'm trying to be honest because we're trying to figure out what is going on. And we really haven't been able to figure out what's going on. But what I do know is that you have 32 NFL teams that are always scouting, and they know you are on campus. They know what kind of player developer you are because everyone respects you. And so, but when you leave a depth chart blank, right? You leave the depth chart blank so nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows who's playing. And you got to go down the roster to find people's numbers. Like, okay, who's this guy? And then on top of that, you're also banning a franchise, reportedly, allegedly, because you have beef with the Robert Kraft in the front office over there because of how you felt like you're treated towards the end. like you're going to screw some of these kids over, right? And I'm not saying he is, right? I think Bill Belichick is still one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. I still think he's one of the greatest head coaches, regardless of level. But at this point, we have to be. There's got to be some transparency. There's got to be some honesty.
Yeah.
What is the plan? What is going on? And also, we gotta get ready. You guys gotta get. We have to get ready for you, Charlotte. Like that's the message right now. We like for that was the theme of yesterday. We have to get ready for Charlotte. We have to move on. So TCU is bad, but let's start improving. We know what we need to evaluate because to be fair to Belichick, too, they really didn't have the chance to really evaluate these guys because 40 new players were put on the roster for the fall that weren't even here for the spring. So, I mean, so there's really no true evaluation process. There was no preseason game like the NFL. So it was really, really hard to see what players fit where. And on top of that, we haven't mentioned this too, Austin Vasquez didn't play, which is a huge deal because he probably would have been your center.
Yeah.
And there's bad snaps all throughout the night.
There were bad snaps. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Bill Belichick is just doing his players a disservice. Like with those reports that you just shared with banning the Patriot scouts and due to his beef with Robert Kraft in the front office. I mean, one, it's not fair to his players. Two, that doesn't make him look good at all from any person's point of view. I mean, it doesn't help, especially with him being head coach now at UNC. It doesn't help. I mean, how do you think that makes other NFL scouts seem like?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. Like Nick Saban, by the way, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are very close confidants. Like Nick Saban famously is probably the greatest Saban as Belichick assistant ever because of what he did at college level. One of the things when he was at Alabama was that he made sure the scouts that came on campus to see the players, which they always had a lot of players, he made sure they're treated like kings and princes. Kings, princes, dukes, lords, you name it. He made sure that they were taken care of, right? And yes, UNC may only have two players that are like two NFL guys, right? One of them is Marcus Allen, who didn't have a great game, and that's unfortunate because that was really a chance for him to prove that he belonged. And I think maybe also the pressure got to him, right? The pressure of the game. That was an electric crowd, for the first drive, before the game and for the first drive. But there's a lot of anticipation for this game. But then also the other guy, of course, is Thaddeus Dixon. So there's really only two guys, but there could be more that you don't know about. Which is why, like, the information with the depth chart, knowing, okay, if this guy gets hurt, this is the next guy. But look, we don't really need that. Like the media, yes, we kind of need that, but it's not a big deal because we're kind of used to, not having a roster, not having, during the spring, they didn't have any numbers. And during the fall, we didn't see them practice. Like, we were kind of used to that at that point. But the NFL scouts are going in there like, what is this? Like, what is going on here? And I'm not, like I said, I'm not making this personal with Bill Belichick. I have a lot of respect for Bill Belichick. But at the same time, like, we finally now have a picture of what's going on with the team. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give a lot of praise to Bill Belichick where it's needed, but I'm also going to criticize Bill Belichick where it's needed. This is part of the business, and he knows that. He's also a coach, which is also kind of like a teacher. What do you think he's doing to his players right now? I think, there's still time. There's still time to improve things. I mean, all is not lost. You can still finish the non-conference slate 3-1, which could put you in a great position because there's 3 winnable games on their schedule. I said, I don't think I mentioned this to you before, Jeremiah, but I said this on the last podcast. It is Wake Forest, Cal, and it is Stanford. You have 3 winnable games. So if you finish the non-conference slate 3-1, and you win at least 3 conference games, you're in a bowl game. So all is not lost. But I think USC fans were expecting more because they had the whole Bill Belichick mystique. But what they also didn't realize is that It takes time. They have 70 new players on this team. And yes, I did say I think they're going to go 8-4 and win paper. I've also said this was a 7 or 8 win team, just because it really not has so much to do with the talent, but you just have a lot of experience and depth on this team. And then you have an easy schedule. I never said talent because I didn't know how good these guys were. We know Thaddeus Dixon is talented. We knew that going in because he was a star at Washington, was a star in the national championship and whatnot. And Andrew Simpson, we knew Andrew Simpson and Kamari House were talented. We knew that Jordan Shipp had some potential, and he completely showed in that game against CCU. But at the same time, other than that, we don't know how talented these guys really are until we saw them play on the field. I know that's TCU is a really good team, so we don't really have the best sample size because TCU is a much better team than UNC. That clearly showed. But it's just it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. It really is, and even as time goes on, it could be positive or it could be extremely negative. It could be a lot like last night, but we won't know till we advance. And it starts with Charlotte.
Charlotte. Do you think there's a certain point differential that you feel like is a lot to, I guess, place balance in the world of UNC football? Like, let's say UNC goes out there and beats Charlotte, but the score is 14-7.
Then I'll be concerned. Because Richmond's a good FCS opponent. Like, you should win against Richmond. Richmond's a good FCS opponent, and they have a really good head coach, and I think his name is Ross Huesman. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And then you got UCF, who's always been a solid program. And it's on the road at their house, which is ironically called the Bounce House. That's his actual name. It's one of the toughest places to play in America, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not even so much about the point differential. Like, do you look improved? Did you improve? Like, is it very clearly that we can see with our own eyes that you improved, right? And that's kind of the issue. I don't care about the point differential, right? Because a lot of points could swing at any point in time. It could be a 14-7 game for most of the game, but then you score 3 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes. So I just want from start to finish. This is what you want. You want from start to finish, you want to see precision. You want to see explosion. You want to see physicality. You want to see them make simple tackles. You want them to make tackles in open space. Talk about the corners. You want to see the defensive line get penetration and cause pressure. You want to see the offensive line bully some people for once. I think that's the most important thing. I don't care about the point differential. I don't care about that, right? Whether you win or lose. I want to see improvement. And I think everyone in the coaching staff wants to see it, and everybody in the locker room wants to do it. You have to, that's the bottom line. You have to show improvement and then keep improving. Don't get stagnant or not stagnant, but don't be satisfied. Keep improving. Do your job. Like ironically, as we're talking about Belichick, do your job. That's the mentality they're going to have for the rest of the season. And, it starts with Charlotte. We're on to Charlotte. And then after Charlotte, you show improvement. We're on to Richmond. Show improvement during the Richmond game. We're on to UCF. Show improvement there. Win in Orlando, which is a tough place to play. You get a bye week. So that's more evaluation time, more time to settle down. Come up with a game plan for Clemson because you got 2 weeks to prepare. And then, bam, you get the Clemson game. So you got 3-1. Clemson will be 3-1. It should be a big ACC game. UNC has not beaten Clemson since 2010. And actually, I think they've only beaten Clemson twice in the last 20, 25 years. So there's a lot of time to improve, but once again, it starts with Charlotte.
Oh yeah, and also just seeing the improvement part is so important for fans as well. I mean, you want to keep your fan base faithful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we saw the crowd last night. Bill Belichick's really helped out with the economy, clearly. We've seen all the Chapel Bull shirts. We've seen the Air Jordan shirts. Did you see those?
Yeah.
Where they had the silhouette of the pose that him and Bill Belichick and Jordan, because
Yeah.
her name's pronounced Jordan Hudson, when they're on the beach and everything like that. So I mean, clearly there is an economic boom in Chapel Hill because of Bill Belichick. So if you're the university, you want to keep it going. If you start losing, then it's like, all right, we're on the basketball season, and
Yeah.
you know the all too well, Jeremiah, and you're from there, this, you're UNC fan. It's kind of like football's always been seen as a carryover sport until you get the basketball season. But it seemed like things would be different. But like a lot of people have said, and around us, our fellow colleagues who have covered the scene for a very long time, 2 words: typical Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, that first drive, I mean, it truly felt like we were all like in that press box, it truly felt like we were all watching the start of something new. But then whatever happened after that moment, it was like everything that happened the last 5 years.
Longer than that, Jeremiah. Longer than that.
Uh, I'm
Longer than
I'm
that.
I'm being nice, I'm being nice, I'm being nice.
I know you're being nice, but longer than that, because
Yeah.
AJ literally told us, he literally told me that you're right next to me, Grant. You just witnessed the last 30 to 40 years of North Carolina football right there. But that's just how it is, man. But anyway, but yeah, and that's their first drive too. Like, look, if Carolina lost, if they were competitive and they lost, I don't think the blowback would be as huge. But
No.
because of how bad they lost, that's
Mhm,
why you've seen all these different people have all these comments from
mhm.
national media, have all these different comments. Colin Cowherd, Rich Eisen, Stephen A, Scott Van Pelt, Dan Leberton. Like, think of any notable national talking head, whether they cover college football, whether they cover the national sports scene, you name it. They're all talking about how embarrassing this loss was. And matter of fact, before I hopped on, I was watching a Rich Eisen episode where they brought on Bill Burr as a guest. Of course, Bill Burr is a Boston guy, Patriots guy. And we mentioned, I think we mentioned this I already mentioned this, but Joe, what do you think of, like, asked him, hey, what do you think about Bill Belichick in North Carolina last night? What do you think about Bill? What do you think of Joe Namath on the Los Angeles Rams? Like, and that's kind of the feeling right now. It's like, like for Bill's legacy, he probably should have stayed retired. That's what a lot of people say. I'm not saying that. We still got 11 games to play, but
Mhm.
there's some people that are starting to say that right now, and it's just you. And now, of course, I don't want to see that, and nobody wants to see that, to be honest. And well, except for Boston, the whole city of Boston, New England. But for a guy who's a legendary coach, the last thing you want to see is him go off, in a sad state. But I want to see Bill Belichick, be successful in North Carolina, because you just don't want his head coaching legacy to be tarnished because he wanted to coach in college, which is something he's never experienced before. Seems like he's really enjoying it too, by the way. And
Mhm.
just, now it is. But Jeremiah, you got any last thoughts before we wrap things up?
No, you hit all the nails on the coffin. I mean, the identity is what will be important for everyone to be on the lookout. Gotta see adjustments. Defense has to play better. Quarterback has to be settled. Gio Lopez, Max Johnson, who's it gonna be?
Mhm.
And yeah, in theory, the Tar Heels can end the season 11-1. Will they? Maybe. Will they not? Maybe. I mean, who knows? But in theory, they can win 11 straight games, but I mean, we'll see how it all plays out.
Mhm. Yeah, man, it just kind of sucks. Just you didn't want to see that, especially in how special that moment was. But it is what it is. You got to move on, and we're on to Charlotte. So. But anyway, let's go wrap things up. My name is Grant Sashray, beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on the side. Jeremiah Tacho, or other beat writer here at North Carolina Tar Heels on the side, bringing all the latest news in regards to North Carolina athletics. I would say I wouldn't say a big game, but for Charlotte's sake, it is a big game. It's an opportunity to host the larger, really the flagship university of North Carolina. Um, Small stadium, 50,000 seats. Jeremiah won't be attending, but he'll be covering it from his apartment. I'll be going to Charlotte, but the press box is small, so they're gonna have me outside. So I can't complain. I'm gonna be able to go, but that just shows you kind of like the anticipation for this game because there's a lot of North Carolina media that are going to be there, and of course there'll probably be a lot of North Carolina blue in that stadium because we all know that North Carolina is kind of key. So it'll be really interesting to see how many shades of green you see in the stadium, on Saturday night. But anyway, we'll see you guys later. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. My Twitter handles are right in the bottom right hand corner, bottom left hand corner of my screen. Of your screen. Jeremiah's right under his name tag. Make sure to go follow us on Twitter. Also, make sure to go follow Tar Heels on SI on Twitter as well. And also make sure to go like the Facebook page as well. We'll see you guys later, and you guys have a great rest of your day.
Peace.